Hey everybody, it's Eric Johnson, Iwi Productions. So the last video on treasure hunting I did was there's treasure inside the Appalachian Footpath box, Vermont map hoax. I'm here to say I should not have called it a hoax. I got a lot of comments after I made that video. Some of them were positive, said they agree with me that it's in North Carolina. And others were saying I was wrong. Probably the biggest proponent of the Vermont Trail solution, at least in the comments, is a guy named Sam Dunham. And I don't know if Sam Dunham was the guy who started this whole thing, but he said, I must respectfully disagree with your conclusion that the Vermont Trail is a hoax. In fact, I believe the Appalachian Footpath treasure is hidden in Vermont, and the trail depicted on the map is the Green Mountain Trail near Little Rock Pond. The match is too precise to be a coincidence. I must respectfully disagree with your conclusion that the Vermont Trail is a hoax. In fact, I believe the Appalachian Footpath treasure is hidden in Vermont, and the trail depicted on the map is the Green Mountain Trail near Little Rock Pond. The match is too precise to be coincidence. And he said, what I should do is he talked about the icons on the map, the symbols, and he said, well, you can read in the comments. Just go look at the video. But apple baskets matches the actual apples for wildlife sign located near the trailhead. That's interesting. The tree under the magnifying, that tree stands exactly where shown on the map at the pond overlook fork. Skier symbol. I mean, he's done a very good job, and I'm here to say that I should not have called it a hoax. And the reason is, he basically said you need to go look at the trail yourself. He basically said to go look at the trail myself, so I did. I used something called, and also he is the one that is pushing the theory that as he said here, I quoted him because he said, the treasure is called the Appalachian Footpath box for a reason. It's not hidden directly on the Appalachian Trail itself, but rather on a footpath connected to it. And I believe he's right. So I'm renouncing my previous, I'm taking back saying it was a hoax. I think that was a stupid thing for me to say. But I think everyone understands. Well, let me just say this. As I said when I first said it was a hoax, the biggest part of my reason for saying that was very simple. When you look at the map that John Collins Black put in the chapter about the Appalachian Footpath box, he has a compass on it. So here it is. I know we've been over this many times, but there's a compass. And I thought, if you're going to put a compass in here, you're making a real point of saying it's, and this part here is the biggest part of the compass, so I thought that denoted north. And so I just thought, that has to point down because there's a compass. As we know from the premise that the trail in Vermont is the correct trail, you notice that it's upside down. I realize I'm repeating what I just said in the last video, but I'm just trying to make my point again. But this part here, which was purported to be the Green Mountain Trail, I had to go look for myself. And I did. And I found an incredible thing. This is the Green Mountain Trail as it is. I believe I was using All Trails. And you know, there's just no denying. I mean, when I brought it up in a third-party app and saw that it was exactly what he was saying, that this did match exactly what he had already put there for us, I thought, holy God, that's incredible. I mean, that is incredible. So my hat off to Sam Dunham and whoever came up with this whole concept. I don't know if he was the one that started it or he's just a big defender on it. It sounds like he lives in the area and he, you know, has been out searching. I'm pretty sure he's the one I was talking to that said, the comments, he said he had been out there searching and gone up and down it and he couldn't find it. But there's just no denying that. It's just, and there's the rest of it, you know. And then I went ahead and I did something else. I got out my coloring pens and I thought, well, I'm going to be clever and I'm just going to show how it doesn't really touch the Appalachian Trail. But at this point, I'm almost falling victim to confirmation bias because I'm now arguing against a technicality. Here is Green Mountain Trail. Here is Little Rock Pond Loop. So Green Mountain Trail does not actually hit the Appalachian Trail, which is over here on the east side of the pond. But it does go and it connects to the loop going around Little Rock Pond. And then, of course, if you get down here, if you get to here, you're on the Appalachian Trail all the way up to here. This is the Appalachian Trail. So regardless of me pissing around about, oh, it doesn't actually touch it, kind of touches this and doesn't touch. And I said, Eric, this is, so what happened was I had already done the video to kind of come back at the comments. And the more I did, I actually got done with the video. Would have been out a little earlier if I hadn't had to do it over again. And I was editing the video. And I said, Eric, you just can't go through with this because it's just too perfect. That's just too perfect. I thought I was going to prove I thought I was going to prove through an area I had found and it still looks similar. The thing that's very interesting to me is this. This shows you how this whole footpath thing that he brought up and was very certain about, and I'm pretty sure he's probably right. You know, a lot of the Appalachian Trail is pretty straight. I mean, it has its bends and its curves and its stuff. But even to look at the map in the book, the Appalachian Trail as a rule does not, you know, it doesn't go to all these different kind of places, if you will. Was a place, hey Belle. What I did find was a place called, hey honey. What? What's up, Belle? What's up, Belle? There's little Belle's here. Little Belle, Stinker Belle. Are you going to come up and say hello to people? You hardly ever say hello. It's usually Tober that jumps up here. You want to come up here? You're not going to come up here. She's looking at me like I'm out of my mind. Folks, here's the thing. See this? See this down here? This, by the way, is the trail, the U.S. North Carolina, the North Carolina River. I think this is all trails. North Carolina River to Chestnut Knob to Sawtooth Loop. This is in North Carolina. Basically Chestnut Knob. Now see this here? This here at the bottom, there's a trailhead. This here at the bottom, I thought has some similarity to this. And I looked at it and I looked at it and I said, yeah. And that's why I was pushing back so much, because I ended up my video saying, I think I have found where it is in North Carolina. So even though you have this map, I think I've got a correct find. But then, of course, I went and actually looked at Green Mountain Trail. And, folks, wait a minute. You can't beat that. You just can't beat that. That is just too similar. Even more so than this. But this does, this does go in the right direction. This does go in the right direction. But it would mean you can see how this and this is not quite this and this and this. It's close, but this here, as you can see, is very much narrower than here. And so, but here's one point I wanted to make in this before I get on to my conclusion, which is, well, I'll just tell you what my conclusion is. My conclusion is now I'm totally buffaloed and I have no idea what's going on. And that's why I make these videos, so I can just end up saying, I don't have a damn clue what's going on. Because, but this is a point I want to make. I mean, look at this. Look, this is just this is Chestnut Knob. I think it's called the Max Roan Patch or something. Don't quote me on that one. It's not too far away from where I live, and I thought I'm going to go up there and check this out. But then I went and looked at the Green Mountain Trail. And I said, Eric, that's confirmation bias right there, that you're thinking this is closer than this. I mean, you got to be kidding. There's no way. I mean, this right here, it's so much more perfect than this right here. I see the similarity, but folks, again, to repeat, look at all the squigglies when you're dealing with footpaths. I mean, that's close. If this was a little wider, hey, Belle, if that was a little wider there, yeah, I'd stretch it and say, yeah, that could be it. But look at all the squiggles in a footpath. And think of all of these footpaths all up and down the Appalachian Trail, connected to the Appalachian Trail. But in the end, Sam Dunham and people that agree with him, they're right. That's just too perfect. I'm blown away, and I'm very disappointed, and not in a selfish way that my theory's not correct, because as I don't have, that's not. I'd rather deal with what is obvious and not end up in a silly, in my the video I first did of this response to the comments I was saying. you're wrong, you know, because of the damn compass. And it just irritates me, because if everything Sam says about the icons, and he sounds like he knows what he's talking about, he's actually turned out to be a pretty straight up guy with what he's saying. And someone else in the comments said that JCB has said in interviews, I think someone said, well, JCB in an interview said that he has planted some red herrings in the hunt. And I read that and I thought, I don't want to believe that, because that makes everything so damn more complicated. And I asked the person, who I forget who it was, but I said, please send me the link to the interview or the video where JCB says, you know, that he has placed red herrings out there. And I did not get a response. And I always take that to mean that I'm right and they're wrong, and they don't have the evidence. But another way of looking at it might be maybe you couldn't find the link. So here's what I'm asking anybody: please put in the comments to this video if you have a link where JCB says in an interview that he's put red herrings out there, or even in an interview if someone asks him, have you placed any red herrings out there, and he refused to comment, say, I want to see the link, because I want to know that. But I got to tell you, putting a compass here and then putting it out there that you have to look at it upside down in spite of the compass, that would be very disappointing. And it would make me question. I mean, I don't even know how I could handle that if I knew that everything I was figuring out could be a red herring, could be a false lead that he had planted out there. That would be a shitty thing to do, personally, I believe. But if someone has proofs that JCB did that, then please let me know. So anyway, I no longer am saying it's a hoax. That was a strong word anyway. I should have said mistaken or something. But now I'm not even thinking mistaken. That right there is in fact the Green Mountain Trail. I confirmed it myself in the week since I did that video and got the comments. That is the loop, and that is the Appalachian Trail. So there is a couple of steps connection here. It's a real connection, without me being anal about whether it actually connects directly to the trail, along the trail. Sounds like a good way of thinking about it. The trail can get you to the footpath. Folks, I don't really have a lot more to say. I just wanted to get on here and correct myself and say, Eric, you know, you love to talk about I was talking about confirmation bias way back in the beginning of the force fed thing, and then other people picked up on it, it seemed like. Obviously, it's something you can look up in a dictionary also. I went into a whole thing on a video back then talking about the confirmation bias was based on this thing called pattern recognition, where it goes back to primitive man. You know, have you ever seen a really cool movie? I saw it many years ago, but someone was in a jungle environment. Well, you've probably even seen him in videos of animals and stuff, where you're like looking at bushes and maybe you hear something and you're scanning the bushes, and then all of a sudden you focus in on, you suddenly see a silhouette, you realize there's some eyes, like maybe of a leopard or a lion behind the bush and staring at you, and you go, oh shit. That pattern recognition, it was one of the survival skills that we certainly developed, to be able to see patterns in chaos, so to speak. I mean, you're looking at bushes, and then somehow you're able to mentally, there's a word for it, para something. Anyway, it was a good video. It was a long time ago. I mean, I don't even remember which one it was. So folks, that's all I got for you. That is, yeah. That's just too perfect. That's too perfect. I don't know what the hell's going on. So JCB has it in there, but he has it going in the wrong direction. And I agree with Sam Dunham and his people agree with him that it looks like, I mean, unless this trail has a doppelganger somewhere else, North Carolina or whatever, gosh, it certainly looks like it. It would really be here, right? It would be here, 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 going up. Just here, 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 going up. And that's the trail. That's a trail going. That's the trailhead that would lead you to. I mean, it's, but it's so sloppy compared to the one that the theory about Vermont. Compared to that one. I don't know, folks. That's all I got for you. I just wanted to put this out there and say I'm renouncing myself for saying that it was a hoax. I think that was a silly thing to say. And when I did my due diligence, like I should have done the first time, and went and actually found a trail app to go look it up myself and confirm it's really what it looks like. And maybe I almost thought it was too perfect, that it couldn't really look like that. But sure enough, it does. So I don't know. I'm kind of back to. Gosh, I mean, how many trails do you want to look for up and down the Appalachian Trail? It's quite laborious. I mean, I think I put in something like on AI. I think I put in search for show me trails along the Appalachian Trail in North Carolina, and it came up with a buttload. And you got to go through all of them and look at them, you know. And you got to go to the source that AI pulled up, and you got to find the map. And it's like, oh, there's a lot of work. But why worry about it? I don't know, folks. I'm deflated. I'm a little defeated. Not in the sense of the back and forth with Sam Dunham. To me, it's constructive criticism when I can take my own, be taken to task. And the guy was quite nice about it. He just said, I just think you're wrong. I just think it's too perfect. It is pretty damn perfect. I think my next one, someone asked me if I'm going to do one on Forrest Fenn, the FF box, one of the 4 little boxes, Forrest Fenn box. It's kind of based on Forrest Fenn. He does his own poem that kind of mirrors the Fenn poem, Too Far to Walk. And I think I'll do that. But yeah, next. I still think New Orleans was a wonderful video. I thought I had it so figured out, and it, you know, it would require some travel though. I'm having more trouble now. It's trying to find house sitting for my cats, because I want someone who can basically stay here. I don't want someone that comes and goes, and so I had that, but it's very short term. It's a day or two. So it's like, okay, that's not good for me. So I don't know how I'm going to fix that problem, so I can travel more. Anyway, but my point was going to be, and I'll definitely quit at this point. My point was going to be that if he's throwing red herrings out there, how do I know the thing about who was it? I talked about a saxophone who played baritone bass saxophone, and he had a song. He said, you know, it's appropriate to listen to this song while we're driving out to go bury the treasure for the Pokemon box. And yeah, maybe that was maybe that's a red flag. So I'm thinking, because he went to that bar when he was a little boy, got into a bar in New Orleans, and they were playing baritone and sax, and he just kind of was in rapture over the sound. And then he says, we're going to put on whatever that song was. And I looked it up, and this song was played by this famous baritone sax player. I thought, well, if it's appropriate to put on that music, and he said he fell in love with this music in New Orleans, and it must be around New Orleans. But what if it's a red herring? Please, somebody, if you've found that he has indicated there are red herrings, please let me know. That would really piss me off and make me disenchanted, but better to know now than later, because I don't know how you can fix that. That's rough. These things are rough enough. And everyone says they're searching all over here. They're searching all over here, and nobody's found it. And Sam Dunham, or one of these guys, said, I've been up and down this, maybe it's another comment, I don't remember, said, I've been up and down this thing count to the point where it's run me ragged, and I can't find it. So anyway, folks, on that note, I'm going to get ready to do my next video. My next video is going to be non-treasure. As I've been repeating, this is going to grow into quite an eclectic channel. It's going to have a lot of different subjects, pretty much things I like. Maybe if someone suggests something they like this guy said, would you please do one on the Forrest Fenn treasure box? I'll do that next when I do treasure. And I have looked at that chapter, and it looks like you can get there pretty easily. Someone said, this guy has a knack for getting you to the spot, and then it gets complicated. It does seem like that. And I found the same thing with the Forrest Fenn thing. Of course, this thing threw me completely off because I just figured it had to be in North Carolina because he grew up in Statesville, and he said he used to go out and get on the Appalachian Trail near Asheville. And I thought, well, then, of course, there's going to be somewhere along there. He's just going to go back to one of his old haunts on the Appalachian Trail when he was a teenager. No, it looks like it's in Vermont. The only way I can prove it's different is to find something that looks closer to the map than that. Oh, that's going to be really not easy to do. That's all I got for you, folks. Hope everyone's having a good time. And on that note, it would be nice if I would fit. I know I go on tangents, and I don't finish what I was going to say. And I should. So the next video is going to be about a UFO event that occurred in the 50s. It was a huge event. The government at first did not deny the event took place. But it's in the history of UFOs. And again, it's one of those things where things were seen. There was no interaction. There was no abduction. I think the first abduction I became aware of was Barney and Betty Hill, and that'll be another video I'm going to do too. That looks like it could be, I'm not going to use the word hoax. It looks like, just wait for the video. I mean, it could have just been mind tricks that happened with this couple, because they were an interesting couple. And she kind of was the one that pushed the whole narrative for that. He kind of went along with it. But the video I'm going to do next it's very interesting. So we had this event that happened in the 50s. And so it's in the history books. And then just now, I think in June or July, information came to the surface from an astronomer who was able to get her hands on, quite an interesting woman, was able to get her hands on some data collected in the 50s having to do with things picked up in the atmosphere by a telescope. Well, they had to go back, and with digital MRI-like ability, they were able to go in and look at these relatively old photographic plates and much more succinctly and distinctly analyze them, and they found things very interesting, very mysterious, interesting things that were happening literally at the time of this event back in the 50s down here on Earth. So there's a match. There's something going on in our orbit, and there's something happening on Earth that was reported heavily. Well, now with this information, we'll be able to put the two together. It's quite fascinating. So I'm going to do that. Any comments? Anyone has anything out there to say about the JCB Vermont thing? Please let me know. I think the comments I got pretty much, they covered it, and people are just admitting they can't find it, even though it looks like that's it. I admit it. I shouldn't have to feel like I have to admit it. I should openly just say, yeah, that's it. And when I went and checked it, double checked it myself, I said immediately, I said, you can't fight this. This is silly to even try to. Why would you want to? That's all I got for you, folks. Have a good day. Goodbye.